Hello and welcome to CGB Games. My name is Cameron, and today I'm bringing you my fourth devlog for the making of my game, Escape from Violet Institute. First of all, I want to apologise for the delay on this one. I've been rather busy lately, especially with the world as it is at the minute, but I've been trying to get my game on Steam at the minute, so that's been taking up a lot of my time. But I'm happy to start recording this now and get on with this. Our first task for today is editing the break boxes for the 3D portion of the game. As it stands, when the player breaks the box, a puff of smoke appears and the broken version of the box spawns in it. It's rather simple, but it does the job at least. Saying that, I've always wanted to give the whole process a bit of a glow up. My plan as it stands is to take the idea behind the bits that fly off the enemies when you shoot them and apply it to these boxes. If you're unaware of this, I'll briefly explain. When the player breaks a box, there will be arrows inside the box that spawn pieces of debris with slight velocity. I hope this will then look interesting and add some much more needed oomph to the whole process. Firstly, I'll fiddle with the box blueprint itself that allows the debris to spawn. This won't take too long as there's a lot of copy and pasting from existing enemies. Next, I'll create the debris blueprint, which again is just copying the blueprint of the bits that already fly off the enemies. I fiddled with the speed a bit so that big bits travelled not as far than little bits. And now that everything was seemingly working fine, I was ready to create the art. Firstly, let's go over to Blender, where we do the usual process of creating the low poly, unwrapping it, doing the high poly, and exporting all of this. Next, I moved over to Substance Painter and created my lovely texture. I then had to redo this task a couple more times to add variety to the different types of wood that could be flown off, just to make sure it was a bit different each time and keep it interesting. I also made sure to give each piece of debris a single bone so that it could be allowed to roll around on the floor and bounce off things in game. The last thing to do was to implement it into the engine and fiddle with the numbers slightly so that it all works nicely. And there we go, it's working, it's in-game, and I'm very happy with it. For our next task, we'll be looking at an audio issue with the game. As you've hopefully seen by now, there are many sectors of the game that have these red, gross, growth tissue things covering the floor and walls. As it stands, when the player moves through these sections, the footstep sounds they make don't change from the metal clanging you hear from everywhere else. This doesn't feel right, especially in the fleshy tubes the player walks through in the game. So the plan to fix this is to add trigger boxes in those areas that change the player's blueprints so that the sound he makes from his feet sound more squishy and gross. Firstly, I need to make the actual sounds. This didn't take too long, as I luckily already had squishy footprints made for the enemies. I had to tweak them slightly, as the player is usually a lot smaller than the enemies, but this was rather simple and didn't take too long at all. After this, I turned my attention to the 2D player and the levels he inhabits. The blueprints were rather straightforward, a lot of copy and pasting, and the implementation into all 23 levels took a while, but it was easy enough as well because it was on a 2D plane, so there's only two directions I have to worry about. Next, I did the exact same for the 3D portion of the game. Once again, the blueprints caused no issues, just had to fiddle with the volume a bit upon testing. The implementation took a little longer as there was an extra dimension to take into account, but after a while it was all finished and working perfectly. I feel like this now stops distracting the player and allows them to immerse themselves further. Once again, I'm happy with the outcome of this, and I feel like now it stops distracting the player and allows them to fully immerse themselves into the sounds of the game when they're walking around. And now you guessed it, it's time for saving and loading of the next level. Once again, this level isn't too big, so it didn't take too long. And luckily, the player cannot go back a level at this point, so it meant that I could reuse a lot of the variables, which cut down development time by quite a bit. This part definitely produces the most bugs, however, upon testing, so I'm always having to go back to previous levels to straighten things out. Basically, save and load is the bane of my existence at this point. But thankfully, I finished this level and everything seemed to work, for now. Well, with that, I'm happy for the progress I've done today, and I would like to leave it here. Also, you can probably tell by now, not all the stuff you see in this video is the result of one day's work, and it's closer to a week at this point, so I just like to condense it down into this bite-sized chunk. Another thing I want to recap on is the thing I said at the start, which is I finally have a Steam store page up and running. I'm very happy as this took a while to get to this point, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I've left a link in the description, so you can head over there and wishlist it if you like what you see. Anyway, thank you for watching, and subscribe if you want to see more. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.